Rome did not fall overnight. Long before the walls crumbled and barbarian armies stood at the gates, Rome had begun to rot from within, from its very soul. Today we remember Rome only for its magnificent marble pillars, massive arenas, and invincible legions. However, the dusty pages of history tell us a completely different story, the story of how a civilization betrayed its own people and its own future. History is not just the wreckage of the past. History is the map of the labyrinth we walk in today. And if we do not look closely at this map, it is only a matter of time before we fall into the same pit that Rome did. Now, let us descend from the glittering streets of the empire into the dark vaults of the mints, because the truth is not found upon the marble, but in the decay hidden beneath it. The middle of the 1st century AD, the Roman Empire is the master of the world. But running this massive machine was expensive. Wars, colossal structures, and bureaucracy. The treasury was draining. Emperor Nero resorted to the oldest and most dangerous trick in history, currency debasement. In those days, Rome's primary currency, the denarius, was made of nearly pure silver. Nero reduced the silver content of these coins from 95% to 90%, filling the gap with worthless copper. The people didn't suspect a thing. The emperor's face on the coin was the same, the name was the same. But on that day, the countdown to Rome's collapse began. As centuries passed, this small trick started by Nero turned into an avalanche. By the time of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, the silver content dropped to 75%, and under Septimius Severus it hit 50%. By the year 270 AD, a Roman coin was no longer silver, it was merely a worthless piece of copper coated with a thin layer of silver. The silver content had plummeted to 0.5%. Rome was robbing its own people through inflation. Today, those endless numbers on your digital screens, those guaranteed balances in your bank accounts, how different are they from those fake copper coins of Rome? If the value of a currency depends on the honesty of those who produce it, everything ends when that honesty expires. When Roman money became no different from scrap paper, trust in the empire evaporated as well. As the economy collapsed and prices soared, the people began to grow restless. But the emperors had another solution. If you cannot feed the people's stomachs, you must occupy their minds. It was here that the famous doctrine was born, Panem et, that is, bread and circuses. Every day at the Colosseum, thousands of people gathered to watch wild animals and gladiators tear each other apart. The empire distributed free grain to the masses and distracted them with endless games. While the arena sands were washed in blood, the people forgot their own poverty. Real problems became undebatable because everyone was busy discussing who would win the next fight. The Roman people traded their freedoms and political rights for a loaf of bread and a gladiator match. Look at today's world. The endless social media feeds, the non-stop sensational news, the bombardment of free entertainment at our fingertips. While we are lulled to sleep in our modern arenas, isn't the ground shifting beneath our marble pillars? You cannot satisfy a hungry stomach, but you can distract an empty mind forever. By the 4th century AD, Rome was a ghost of its former self. The tax burden had become so heavy that farmers abandoned their lands and shopkeepers closed their stores. No one wanted to work anymore because the money they earned wasn't enough to buy a single slice of bread. The state became increasingly oppressive. Unable to finance the army, Rome began paying barbarian tribes to protect its borders. In other words, it was handing the axe to its own executioner. When the barbarians reached the gates of Rome, they didn't have to fight hard to get in, because inside there was no value left to defend. The people no longer wanted to protect their own state, because the state had long since abandoned them. The marble buildings were still there, the laws were still written, but the spirit was dead. A civilization collapsed under the weight of its own lies. History teaches us this. Empires are not destroyed by the sword, but by the end of trust. Rome is a mirror. What do you see when you look into that mirror? Our devalued currencies, our digital arenas that numb us, or our marble pillars slowly cracking? As you wander through the ruins of history, remember, ownership and trust are only as permanent as marble. But the truth is timeless. Wake up, question everything, and always stay with the truth. Stay with the truth.